right off the bat, Dionysus' first speech. And this is 174 top of the page. I am Dionysus, the son of Zeus. So what does that word do in terms of establishing sex/gender? Son. Now we don't. We can only know we can only know sex biologically, but certainly we can be sure that when someone calls themselves a son, they are trying to gender themselves as male, right? Okay. Come back to Thebes' land where I was born. Talks about his mother. And here I stand, a god incognito, disguised as man. So what do we know about Dionysus' ability to deal with his identity? He can change it. He has disguised himself as a man, even though he is a god. Now further on, what else do we learn about Dionysus and gender? Yeah. But he can also present as feminine, not female necessarily, although for Greek gods maybe they could, but biologically is not important. In terms of constructed gender identity, Dionysus can move back and forth across a line that's not very clearly drawn in this play, right? But when Dionysus moves across this line, he does it both with himself and others, right? You look further on, right? Page 181. Enter Pentheus from the right. This is the stage direction of 181. He is a young man of athletic build. Why does that matter? It's a stage direction. We don't normally care so much about stage direction. Good. Why do we want him athletic? Good. If this play's tension is in part working around gender and sex roles, and you want your Pentheus to be convincing as both biologically male and gendered masculine, you want to give him some masculine traits. He has one thing working against him. Who's supposed to be king, except he just retired? Cadmus, right? He's gotten old, he's retired. So, has Pentheus been king a long time? No. So he is young. What does age do to gendering for males? Good. Say more about the facial hair. Good. Exactly. For a male to get the full gendered manifestation and traditional understanding of masculinity, you need to hit puberty, right? Isn't that a great dividing line, right? That's where the males start getting a deeper voice, biological things start happening, get a little scary, ride it out, and you're okay. Right? Same for females, but I haven't gone to the female side. Right? So yeah, because he's young, he doesn't yet have his beard, and this is pointed out. He's a young man that has a beard, dressed in traditional Greek dress, like Dionysus, he is beardless. Now let's pause here. Could Dionysus have a beard? You're all convinced. Why could Dionysus have a beard if he wanted to? God. He's already changed appearance. Presumably he's mature. He has wandered around the world before coming to this place. He's already been fighting in battles. He's got a tiger friend, right? He could be as male as he wants. He could be as masculine as he wants to be. He chooses not to have a beard. Why? Why doesn't he want it? Right, yes. He has consciously chosen to not take on a physical trait that is explicitly masculine in this culture, a beard. Has Pentheus chosen not to have a beard because he wants to be able to be feminine sometimes? No. Pentheus doesn't have a beard because he's not yet biologically able to produce the hormones that are going to generate a beard. How is this a tension in play? How does this cause tension in play? Right? Yeah. Later on, when we have Pentheus dressed as a female, you can pull it off. If we're going to talk about theater for a minute instead of drama, this is an important consideration when casting, right? So if you were casting this play, what kind of actor would you need to play Pentheus? Okay, you just said masculine guy, you said passive. That's tricky, right?
Just the athletic, but not always.
Right.
Or
So think about the interpretation of this play. The casting of Pentheus would matter quite a bit, and also Dionysus too. But because Pentheus has to represent gender roles as traditionally established, Pentheus is upset by Dionysus. He's bothered by what's going on in his kingdom. He thinks Dionysus is disruptive, dangerous, and should be stopped. Right? Yet Pentheus himself has some issues in terms of getting his gender and his sex fully aligned, presumably because he's a little young for his job. Right? He's got to be king. He really shouldn't have to be king yet, but Cadmus decided to retire. Cadmus is so loud. I didn't point this out. Cadmus is generally a sympathetic figure in this play, right? But he does kind of stick Pentheus with the job before Pentheus is really ready. And then Cadmus walks around and talks about what a crap king Pentheus is. Is that fair? Yeah. Well, I think I'll just retire and you can handle it. Well, you're not very good at this king stuff, right? So Cadmus, by retiring, has put Pentheus in a position that he probably is not ready for. Symbolically, we have youthful, boyish Pentheus, not ready to be a man biologically, if beard is biological, you know, but also not positioned to be a king because he's not able to command as a king, right? So we have that going on, right? So when Pentheus comes in, right, I happen to be away out of the city, but reports reach me of some strange mischief here. It's a good word, mischief, right? Stories of our women leaving home to frisk in mock ecstasies among the thickets on the mountain, dancing in honor of the latest divinity, a certain Dionysus, whomever he may be. Small passage, a bunch going on here. What do we know about Dionysus in terms of the Greek pantheon as Pentheus understands it? Yeah. The new guy. I've never heard of this god. This is unusual. And what effect is Dionysus having on the social order? Mischief. Mischief is a good word, right? This is mischief. Now, why do gender categories bend people out of shape, right? No matter what your own political background, I hope you'll agree that if you watch the political commentary in our country, when gender categories get misaligned, people get upset, right? They get upset around ideas of marriage, they get upset around ideas of, you know, what kind of rights people should have based on their sexual activity, right? They get upset because matter of order. How does Dionysus threaten order? Right. If you want to be very traditional, and in 400 BC Athens, I think you'd find traditional people, what would be the cliched, this is what a woman's job is? Yes, stay home, clean, have babies, be at home. Alright? So it's important, where are these women going? Yes. Right? They're leaving the city. They're going someplace not sanctioned. They're going someplace beyond the law. They're going someplace beyond the vision of the authorities. The moving of women out of the city into the wilderness, into the mountains, into the forests, into the woods, is a pretty important gesture, because it's not just that Dionysus himself is sometimes androgynous and certainly able to destabilize gender, which is scary enough in this culture, and in ours sometimes. It's also a matter that Dionysus's influence is pulling women out of a sphere that order has decreed is their sphere. Right? So this is destabilizing. Now, it's destabilizing. Why? What's the negative effect of this particular phenomenon? Right. Dinner's cold, right? House dirty? Good. Now stop there. It is easy for us to be contemporary modern and say Pentheus is old, chauvinistic pig, wanting them to stay home. But this is a culture right? There's not like a social safety net. It's not like the social services is going to come pick up children that are unsupervised. Is there not a threat to the society's future by this?
Well, because it was put in the kids' heads that women can be like the men, then, and then I'm just going to all generations to come.
Right, very good. This idea that women have to be home is not just an idea that has to do with men want to be in charge. It's also been established through centuries that if there's no one at home, male or female, but often female, sometimes for biological reasons, more often for social reasons, what happens to the next generation, right? Now, old idea.